It's time to talk the world's game from an American perspective. Presented by Three Lions Pub, you're listening to Two Up Front, where we focus on all things American soccer, from the NWSL, MLS, U.S. national teams, and all the way to the youth levels. Now in the studio, your hosts, Baxter Colburn and Simon Provan.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the next edition of Two Up Front, presented by Three Lions Pub. I am Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
Simon Provan. This has been a weird week. It's a Friday. Why are we talking on a Friday? I'm not used to this.
Well, as we know, Baxter, our schedules are both just crazy right now.
True.
So we got to figure this whole schedule thing out, which maybe we do off the air today and finally give an announcement to people.
I hope so. That would certainly be nice. We've definitely talked and teased a little bit about upcoming announcements for the show, and we will definitely let you know as soon as we have something more official. We thought we had everything figured out, and then all of a sudden we've got this whole new thing that got presented to us, so we're like, but what about the other thing? And so we're kind of all over the place right now. But it's a good problem to have, though.
Exactly. And, you know, with the history of our show, Baxter, it's always been, hey, we got some great news for you. Yeah. And then it seems to get kicked down the road for 3 months. So, you know, as we continue to learn about this media game, that just seems to be part and parcel for this type of medium.
Exactly. We promise it's all good news, though. It's
exactly.
Nothing is bad. We're not going away. Simon isn't quitting. I'm not having another baby. Well, that'd be good news, I guess. But either way, nothing bad is happening. We promise. So just stay tuned. We'll give you more information as we learn. And one of the ways you can do that is, too, by go to our website, twoupfrontsoccer.com. I'd like to tell you could listen to us every Tuesday and Thursday from 12 to 1 Central, but that's kind of up in the air right now. So just stay tuned to our social media pages for when we're going to actually be on the air the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. So best place you can go to right now is Facebook. Search for Two Up Front. Baxter does a good job of letting everyone know what's actually going on with our schedule. You can also check us out on Twitter at Two Up Front Soccer. Of course, always use that number 2, but do spell out soccer. Wait, what? I don't know. Anyways, at Two Up Front Soccer, we've got our own personal handles here at Baxter Colburn, at Simon Provan.
There you go. All right, Simon, a good show in store for all today. 2 great guests joining us, 2 coaches. Matt Beard of the Boston Breakers will be making a return back to the program. We'll see him in our second segment. And then joining us in the fourth segment for the first time will be Orlando Pride head coach Tom Sermanni, a former U.S. Women's National Team head coach, and a lot of questions to ask Coach Sermanni, I feel like, with the offseason and things moving forward for the Pride as a whole, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of our listeners definitely want us to ask about the whole Alex Morgan situation, so we'll be doing that. And, of course, for Boston, we definitely got to talk to Matt about Rose Lavelle being drafted number 1.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, for those of you who don't know, but I think most people do at this point, we are based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Rose went to college, or still going to college, at Madison. So, of course, there's that state connection.
Absolutely.
The big W, which, by the way, Baxter, not to go off on a total tangent.
Sure.
Don't know if you saw Marquette men's basketball beating number 1 Villanova.
Unbelievable. The storming of the court, just the absolute craziness. You don't see a lot of court storming anymore, but I thought that was really special.
Yeah, they actually got fined $5,000.
I was wondering.
East.
I was like, I don't think you can do that anymore. And you saw the coach trying to hold people like, stop.
Yeah.
They just nope, don't even care. Take the fine.
You got to think in the end that $5,000. I wouldn't be surprised if I know it's a soccer show, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Marquette students actually did a fundraiser to pay for that fine.
It's well worth it. You don't beat number 1 every day, that's for sure.
Right.
But a big thing for sure, to say the least, for Marquette men's basketball. So congratulations to them. All right, Simon. First and foremost, some big news happening in the NWSL. Another trade has taken place. Our friends over at Backline Soccer are one of the first to report about it, but Diana Matheson of the Washington Spirit has been traded to who else but the Seattle Reign in exchange for a player and a draft pick as well.
I didn't realize that the Washington Spirit was a developmental club for the Seattle Reign, Baxter.
I feel almost like Washington has become this farm team, basically. If you want to compare who has the best farm team, I think Washington hands down has produced the best talent for the Seattle Reign, basically. It's very strange, honestly, but Ariel Shipp and a third-round draft pick in 2018 will go to the Washington Spirit in exchange for Diana Matheson. It's interesting, too, to note that Tori Huster is the only remaining player on the original Washington Spirit squad from when they first were conceived, basically. Well, everybody else is gone.
It's not surprising in that, of course, this entire offseason has been news about which players Washington is shipping out. Now, they did bring in Christy Mewis.
They did, yes.
But really, we've had her on the show.
Yeah.
Great person. Of
course.
Decent player. Not at the level of
She's not
her
an elite
sister
player,
Sam,
though.
but that's all right. But it is interesting that Jim Gabarra had talked about this big plan that he had. And we haven't seen really much of anything come to fruition. So it really is still mind-boggling what's going on over at the Washington Spirit.
And you've been very vocal about this multiple times, saying that you're saying that you truly believe that there has to be something internal with either the coaching staff or the ownership or the players, that somebody's not happy, and all these big players, or just players as a whole, are leaving, whether they're big players or little players. People just apparently don't want to be on the Spirit anymore.
Yeah, it's a mystery. There have been rumors about players actually being unhappy with the ownership, and especially with the whole national anthem
that was a big
saga
thing
that happened, and that many players just don't want to be there for that anymore. So it's interesting. I don't know. Maybe we can get Jim back on the show. We
need to. I feel like
before. So yeah, it'd be nice to hear from him.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely have to work our contacts there and see if we can get Coach Gabarra on to help solve this issue. Honestly, but congratulations, I guess, to the Seattle Reign. They got Christine Nairn already from the Spirit. Now they've got Diana Matheson. If you're not picking Seattle as one of your top 4 playoff teams next year, I think you're going to be mistaken, honestly.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Baxter.
So definitely keep an eye on what the Seattle Reign are doing. Another big thing, too, just in general for the NWSL, great to hear. We hear about players getting named to the women's national team all the time for the U.S. This time we get to hear 2 Mexican national team players as well. People forget sometimes that Mexico also has federation players involved in NWSL. So Houston Dash goalkeeper Bianca Henninger and Seattle Reign forward Katie Johnson will join Mexico ahead of their friendly against Canada on February 4th. So congratulations to both of those ladies as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the other side, the NWSL did announce the players allocated basically from the Canadian Soccer Association. I don't know if you have the list there in front of you, Baxter.
I'm working on it, yes. The subsidized list, basically, I guess is what it's called.
Right. I'm borrowing an iPad today, and it's really slow.
Let me see here. Trying to get it here. But, I know that there's some new players on the list here as my screen continues to load. Here we go.
Yeah, it is 10 players, so it's good to see. It's amazing to me how Canada and Mexico support this league. That is really a U.S. league, but I think it's very smart for all 3 of these countries to be involved, because ultimately this helps all 3 countries with their development.
You're absolutely right about that. So the 10 players that are going to be subsidized, the Boston Breakers have one in Alicia Chapman. Chicago has nobody. Houston Dash have Yanni Becky and Nichelle Prince. FCKC has Desiree Scott. The Courage have Sabrina D'Angelo. The Pride have nobody, which some people that follow Caitlin Kyle know that's a little surprising, and we can talk about that at another point or get more information about that further. Portland Thorns, Christine Sinclair. The Reign, Diana Matheson. Sky Blue, Kaylin Sheridan. And then the Spirit have Stephanie LeBay and Shalina Zadorsky as their players. So Nichelle Prince and Kaylin Sheridan are the new players subsidized for 2017. So congratulations to them.
And last bit of NWSL news, Baxter. We also keep a pulse on the W League because so many NWSL players are playing over there. Chicago Red Stars player Erin, I apologize, we haven't talked to her. I don't know how to exactly pronounce her last name. So Erin, please forgive me, but Gilliland or Gilliland?
It's Gilliland, yes.
Thank you, Baxter.
Gotcha.
I should have asked you beforehand.
It's all good. That's
terrible
who I thought.
Preparation on my part.
No worries. That's who I thought, but I'm like, it might be a different Erin. I don't know.
Well, the good news is, so we get past all that, the great news is actually she scored a hat trick for the Jets over the weekend. So congratulations to Erin down at, down in Australia now, but down in Chicago.
New York Jets fans are like, wait, we did something? Like, no, Jets, no, the other people. The Winnipeg Jets are confused. No, she didn't score a hat trick in hockey, guys. Calm down. But yes, the W League, so congratulations to Erin Gilliland, to say the least. Simon, do we have time to talk about the men's national team game? I know we have Coach Beard coming up here shortly. It's up to you. If not, we can talk about it later.
You know what? Why don't we go to a break, Baxter, and we'll squeeze it in maybe between... Oh, maybe we'll close out the show with a little preview. How about that?
Men's national team game. Who do they play again? They play
Serbia in San Diego,
Ooh.
which is a hot topic right now. Or is it San Jose? Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
my goodness. 2 mistakes here in the first segment.
We'll see if Simon can gather himself while we go to a break, but when we come back, we will have head coach of the Boston Breakers, Matt Beard. Stay tuned. It's 2 Up Front, presented by Three Lions Pub. Back right after this. Back inside the Attention Era Media Studios here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It is Two Up Front, presented by Three Lions Pub. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
Simon Provan. Our show is pretty simple as ABC 1, 2, 3. Wouldn't you say?
Usually, when I've done my research properly.
Yeah, exactly. Same here for me as well, too. I'm guilty of that. A lot of crazy things happening in my work life. You just went back to school. How did you survive the first week of school?
Survived the first week, but it's been
you.
crazy. I started directing a show on Sunday night, along with obviously teaching. But then I had a voiceover Monday morning. I had a commercial shoot in Chicago last night.
Good Lord!
And now here we are, Baxter.
When do you sleep or see your lovely family?
Well, I right now, unfortunately, I don't get to see my family very much, and my sleep consists of lots of caffeine.
It's sometimes the best way to do it, I guess. Fair enough. All right, well, let's head over to the Boston Breakers, a very busy NWSL draft, and offseason as a whole, too, for the Boston Breakers. And we heard at the end of the season from their head coach, Matt Beard, and now we have an opportunity to welcome back to the program. So welcome back to the show, Coach. How are we doing today, sir?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me back on.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, first of all, great to have you back. How are things going this off-season? You doing anything fun with the family at all? Doing any traveling? Seeing any sights at all?
Well, my son's started school now, so we haven't done much travelling, but we've, as a club, we've been working hard in the off-season, obviously recruiting and planning for the draft, but I've had the opportunity to do one or two things with the family, so it's balanced it out quite nicely. So
which is good. You gotta balance that work and pleasure at the same time there too. You can't go crazy over all the work things all the time, right? Got to spend time with the family, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Well, Matt, I want to kick this off. You guys had a great first pick. Rose Lavelle, who we teased our listeners that you'd probably be talking about because, of course, we're based in Wisconsin. She went to University of Wisconsin. Just curious what you see in Rose and what you're hoping to use her for this season.
Yeah, obviously Rose is a very talented player. It was good that she got the opportunity to go into the national team camp as well, which would give her a great insight into, obviously, the pro level from the college game. I just like the way that she could beat a player. I don't really think we had that in midfield last season. We had players that could sit in front and do a job, but I think Rose can, definitely beat a player and the whole pitch open up. Also, she can score goals and create goals, and that's, again, I think if we're going to have a successful season this year, that we need, goals not just from the front players. We need goals from midfield as well. So from that perspective, obviously watching her games and watching she's a talented player. Those were the things really that sold it to me.
Talking with Coach Matt Beard of the Boston Breakers on the shopfutsal.com call-in line. Coach, before the draft happened, we had you on the show, of course, and you were pretty critical of the college game for women's soccer as a whole, and I mean men's soccer as well too. Certainly has its ups and downs. Obviously, you had a lot of picks with the Boston Breakers in the NWSL draft, and you took a lot of very talented players. From what you've seen, is your perspective changed about that a little bit, at least with getting players like Rose Lavelle on your team, or are you still feeling that the women's game has a little bit more work at the college level to do?
I don't think I was overly sort of critical. I think learning how it works here, obviously the rolling on and rolling off subs, etc. I think more than anything, it was the amount of games that they play in quick succession, and I think that affects the quality of the product on the pitch. It's difficult, obviously, to gauge a player's quality off the back of that, but from the semi-finals and the finals were good games and very competitive. But there's plenty of talented players, coming out of the draft this year, which I believe will make an impact in the NWSL over the course of the season. And part of my plan and our club's plan with regards to this off-season was to make sure that we could get some real good young talent coming into the group that we've already recruited. One, that will create good intensity in training. Two, we know that we've got some good young players that we can work with and mould how we want them to be. But most importantly for me was to create competition for places. And, we worked hard to get the first four picks in the first round. And from that perspective, we was pleased. So, it's like anything. there's good players in the draft, and as I said, I think they're going to make an impact in the league, and hopefully, not just the ones that we've brought in, that there'll be others as well. For other clubs.
Matt, continuing on with this topic of the draft, you seem to go very offensively heavy. I mean, you go down the list of names. Obviously, we talked about Rose Lavelle, Morgan Andrews, Margaret Purse. You keep going down the list. It's the number of goals scored over their career just is astounding as far as what they did in college. Is that the main focus this offseason, is building your offense? Do you feel strong enough about defensively where Boston's at?
Yeah, well, we signed 3 defenders already, Megan Oyster, Amanda Frisbee, Alicia Chapman. So, we've already got seven defenders within our roster. We've also got Kylie Strom, Kristen Westphal, Brooke Elby, and Julie King. So from that perspective, we've got players that have got experience in the NWSL. So last year was an issue was scoring goals. Last year was an issue if we needed someone to come off the bench and create things and impact the game. We didn't really have that at the top end of the pitch. So from that perspective, we've also got Emily Harvey that we're going to lose to the Euros for a certain part of the season. So if you look at all the players that we've recruited, it's been really important that we have that competition for places in the front positions. And if people aren't scoring, last year, especially the first part of the season, we was creating a lot of chances but not converting them. And, I just want to be able to have the flexibility if that happens again, that we can make the changes and, to impact the games. But it's something that we've always discussed, and we wanted to make sure that we had plenty of options up front and that can impact games and not just from coming off the bench but starting. And I think, I'm pleased with who we've brought in for that.
Well, speaking of players leaving as well, of course, it was recently announced that Kaya Simon will not be returning, and I'm curious if you can give us any more insight on that.
Yeah, Kaya's she's played non-stop now for 2 years, and even when she come back from the Olympics, back end of our season, she was picking up little niggles, groins, hamstrings. She's gone obviously to Sydney, and she's had a similar experience. She also needs an operation on her shoulder, and with no major tournament next year and playing right the way through for 2 years of NWSL, World Cup, Olympics and the Australian League, she just feels that she needs that little rest and recovery, and we have to respect that. She's been a great servant to our club, and we obviously retain her rights, and hopefully in the future she comes back.
And definitely looking at the players that you've added this offseason as well, too, Coach, it looks like you're still in a fairly good position, regardless if Kaya Simon, does come back or not, too. So I think you can at least take a little bit of happiness away from that. Looking ahead to this season as a whole, I know you haven't gotten a chance to get into preseason yet with the ladies yet to start working on them, but I'd like to feel, at least on my side, looking in, that this team is going to be much better than what you produced last season. That's nothing against what you did last season, but even you said last time too that you're like, well, it just wasn't a good year, obviously. But do you have the sense with the players that you've got, and the age-old question, if everybody stays healthy, that this team is going to actually be potentially one of the top 5 or 6 teams in the league?
Yeah, listen, obviously we want to finish as high as we can. That's our ambition. I just think from my perspective, I've had the opportunity to get to grips with the league. Obviously, look at the players, look at how the game's played here. And I think I said it in the last time I was on the show, I was planning for this year, from game 6 and 7 last season. So, look, it's going to be a Matt Beard team this year. I don't think my players saw the best of me last year either. Obviously, it's difficult leaving one country, coming to another. But I'm excited by it. I think we've recruited well. I think we've brought in some talented players. I think we've brought in some fantastic people as well, and that was something that was really important to me. That we have good people, good players, so we can have that togetherness from day one, and hopefully, have a successful season. But the message I'll be sending out to the players from day one is that we're just going to take it day by day. I'm not looking towards the back end of the season. I just want to focus on the first training session and then the second training session and the first game and just go from there, and and hopefully it takes us where we need to go.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that one too. I think we asked you this last time as well, but I'm curious because it's been a couple of months. Have you heard any more information about Whitney Engen at all joining the team? For the last time I've heard, she hadn't fully made a commitment yet. Have you had conversations with her in the last couple of weeks at all?
Yeah, we spoke plenty. I mean, it's still not 100% decided, but I think she may be taking sort of a year out of soccer. But that's the way the conversations have gone. Again, Whitney's someone that I respect enormously, and from that perspective, if you look at who we've recruited, and even with the Kaya Simon situation, we've always been planning without Kaya, without Whitney. If she decides to come back and play, then that's fantastic. If she doesn't, then we've already planned for that. So them talks are still ongoing, but I think she'll probably be looking to take a year out of soccer. She won't be. She won't be retiring, but I just think she just wants to maybe concentrate on, her life and her future plans, because she has dedicated her life to the US national team, and and I think maybe for her, it might be good for her to take that year away just to refocus on what she wants, whether that's soccer or whether that's what she wants to do with her life in the future.
Well, Matt, we certainly want to thank you for being on today's show. We'll definitely check in with you during the season, but thanks again for returning to Two Up Front. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Cool, thank you.
Absolutely. There goes Coach Matt Beard on the shopfutsal.com call-in line. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have a little bit of a discussion about what's going on in MLS right now and try to sort out a lot of these transfers and figure out what the heck Atlanta and Minnesota and everybody's doing right now. So stay tuned. MLS is back. Woo! Get excited. We'll be back with more as well on Two Up Front, presented by Three Lions Pub after this. Two Up Front, presented by Three Lions Pub here at the Attention Era Media Studios. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
Moving along with the program, great conversation there in our last segment with Boston Breakers head coach Matt Beard. Good to hear his insights post-NWSL draft about the college game, the players that the Breakers took. And I was just looking at the roster, too, just during the break as well. They've added 6 players so far through free agency and through trades and all that fun stuff. And there's some good names. This team is going to do well next season, especially on the defensive side, too.
Well, it certainly looks like it. Of course, there is the thing of all the players having to gel together, especially with all these new draft picks coming in. But look, I think Matt said it best. Why go after defensive players in the draft when you're well stocked already the way it is with some good players? And
exactly,
the firepower that they need up front. I mean, they were one of the lowest scoring teams in the league last year. So smart picks, I think, for the Boston Breakers. We'll certainly see how they end up this season 100%. In the NWSL.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how they do. I mean, the Reign obviously were very close last year. Now that they've got 2 key pieces in Christine Nairn, like we mentioned, and Diana Matheson, this is going to be an interesting NWSL season.
Absolutely.
And I definitely believe that the Spirit will not be one of those teams that make the playoffs next year based off of all the players that they've lost, unfortunately. They might be the Boston of 2017. We'll find out. All right, MLS, it's back, Simon. Did you know that? MLS is back.
I did know that,
It's
Baxter.
so exciting. I was a little surprised, I guess, because I was like, well, it's January, but I'm like, I guess preseason, I guess, has got to be around because MLS kicks off in early March.
It sure does.
Yeah, so like the first weekend of March or something like that.
Yeah, so you got the Whitecaps out in Wales. You got mostly all the other teams out in Arizona or somewhere where it's warm.
Yeah, someplace. Yeah, Arizona, Florida, down in Bradenton. I know at the IMG Academy, very popular place for MLS preseason.
Where my brother
as well.
Jake coaches, by the way.
Shameless
Just had to
plug.
throw that in there.
Woo! So we need to talk about Kevin Molino because Minnesota
Yes, we
United
do.
spent, how much was it?
$650,000. So $450,000 of general allocation money and $200,000 of targeted allocation money.
This is for Kevin Molino, which a lot of folks are calling a pricey trade, and I would absolutely agree with that, honestly, because I mean, he had moments last year. He did. He was on my MLS fantasy team. He had moments, but I've not seen a lot of consistency out of Kevin Molino since he's been in the league, and I think they frankly overpaid for him.
Well, I think one of the things you got to look at is that they also did get a goalkeeper. Granted, it was McLean or something like that, no-name goalkeeper.
Sure.
Anyways, Molino and Adrian Heath have been together since 2011.
Yeah.
And Heath really believes he's got the players around Molino to make him even better than he is. He's an exciting young player,
Of course,
and
yeah.
I think getting him in Minnesota is a good move. Whether it was too much money or not, for me, Baxter, I'm actually not going to come out and say that was way too much. I think he definitely has the potential to be a big move.
Mm-hmm.
He also has the potential to be a player that Minnesota could at some point transfer and make money off of that. Now, of course, Orlando's going to get some of that transfer money
Yes.
if that happens. But, Molino's right now, he's not playing with Trinidad and Tobago because he needs a break from that.
Yep.
If you haven't seen that whole saga, read up on that. It's pretty crazy with the new head coach down in Trinidad and Tobago. He's basically being like the Chancellor from Star Wars, who's just you're not going to be in this team. You're not going to be in this team. Oh, you're drunk. Oh wait, you're not drunk, but I still don't want you here. So a lot of these
What
players.
Star Wars movie was this? I don't know if I
Well,
saw
I guess
that
they didn't
one.
have it. Well, they had the cantina scene and all that. But don't get me going too much, Baxter. I'm a Star Wars geek, so. But just the whole idea that this coach comes in, everybody's saying, "Okay, good, we're going to turn things
Yeah.
around," and all of a sudden he's just blowing everything up.
Get out.
It's insane. Anyways, my main point here with Molino is just I think he has the potential to live up to the money that Minnesota spent. We'll
Fair
see.
enough. Yeah, he was Orlando's first official signing when the team was announced as an expansion team. He ranks as City's all-time goal scorer with 41 goals and 31 assists, also an all-time leader. That was dating back to the franchise's 2011 USL debut. He had 11 goals, 8 assists in 30 games for Orlando last season.
And word is he actually asked to be let go of down in Orlando because he wanted to come to Minnesota.
Interesting.
It is interesting because you would think that would give Minnesota more leverage so that they
Yeah.
wouldn't have to spend as much money.
But Orlando was probably like, well, I mean, if you want to go, I guess. But hey, Adrian, do you want this money or do you want this player? We'll be happy to let him go for a cool $650,000. Nice and easy, really.
So, now Orlando's got to be smart and actually use that money.
Yeah, that's the real big part about it is Orlando. I mean, what are they going to do now under Jason Kreis? Because they certainly have a lot to consider going forward. I guess.
Absolutely, and it's his first full year with the club. So now we see, can he be successful with this
Exactly.
club? We knew he did it with RSL, but now it's a different setup.
Yeah,
and
100%.
you look at the top of the organization too, and how crazy the turmoil's been up there. Which you got to believe does affect what's going on in the
Yes.
lower parts of the club.
I would agree with that. FC Dallas added some more firepower, Simon. I don't know if you saw this one. Paraguayan forward Christian Coleman.
Yes.
FC Dallas is going for it. I think that they realized how close they were in 2016, and now they're just really mad.
I think they're mad, and part of it is they were very young, and perhaps they needed just a little bit more experience, and they go after the man. Word is that this is who they wanted in the offseason. They finally got the deal done.
Yeah, they paid $2 million for Coleman. They beat out clubs like Club Leon, Lannis, Sao Paulo, and many others as well, too. But he's 22 years old, the Paraguayan, just pending a receipt of his P1 visa and international transfer certificate. But 11 goals and 31 appearances and 17 starts for Nacional last season. He's 6 foot, 174 pounds. He's going to match up well with Maxi Arruti as well up top, plus all the other creative players. They got Javier Morales as well, too, this offseason. This is going to be a fun FC Dallas season, honestly. I don't know if this team finishes below third place in the West, honestly.
I think you can. I think you do have to pick them as one of the early favorites to win MLS Cup.
You'd like to think so. Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. Mauro Diaz will be back as well, too, which we know what he's capable of doing. Kellen Acosta's just absolutely continues to blossom into just
Absolutely.
a great player. Michael Barrios as well. I mean, you can go on and on with the people on this team, Tesha Wakendele, yeah, you can go on and on with the players that FC Dallas has on their roster. We didn't even talk about the defense yet either. They're just a great team overall, honestly. Jesse Gonzalez, and then you look at Walker Zimmerman, Ryan Hollinghead, Matt Hedges, Atiba Harris, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
You go on and on and on.
It's stacked.
Yeah.
They've done things right down in Dallas.
They have. They absolutely have. And it makes me happy to look next to all of these players that have the HG next to them, the homegrown players.
Absolutely.
9 homegrown players on this team as consistent starters. That's unbelievable. That's
where the future of U.S. soccer should lie, is right there.
Yes, I completely agree with you on that one. We've talked about, FC Dallas likely having the best academy in MLS before, and I would still continue to stand next to that. Revolution aren't doing this, I can guarantee you that.
Right.
I mean, the players that we signed for that are homegrown contracts, I'm like, who are you? Could you even make it on FC Dallas's homegrown? That's kind of how I compare everything.
Sure,
now. I'm like, could you even be in the FC Dallas academy? I hope they could, but I doubt it at this point, honestly.
Well, on the flip side of that, not homegrown player, John Elbaj from Sweden, actually going back to Minnesota United, is a goalkeeper that Minnesota United have signed. They have him till at least July 15th, Baxter. Listen, I think it's actually a decent pickup for Minnesota United. He's played a few games with the Swedish national team. He's 34, so as a goalkeeper, that's actually still a decent age to be at. If Minnesota likes what they get from him, then they have an option to extend that loan for 18 months. So, decent move by Minnesota United.
I would agree with you on that one. Toronto FC got some good news. They found out that veteran midfielder Benoit Giroux has signed a new contract, or is very close to signing the new contract, so he'll be back in time for TFC's run again at an MLS Cup. And Toronto FC is going to be one of those teams, too, and I know as we get closer to the season, we'll work on our predictions and conferences and all that jazz as well, too. But TFC really hasn't lost a lot of players this offseason, which I think speaks well for them going to this new season.
Absolutely, and speaking of players moving, he's apparently not moving, but Sebastian Giovinco has been offered a contract from the Chinese Super League.
Yeah, we'll pay you $20 trillion.
Just last month, Seba had said, "I am staying here. This is my home."
He needs to.
And he even said he doesn't care what happens with the Italian national team, because at this point his loyalty is with Toronto FC. He loves the city. He loves the club. That's the kind of loyalty that's cool to see in MLS.
I would agree with you on that one. I mean, there's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with the Italian national team. But anyway, sorry,
okay. Scared me there a little bit.
Scared you there for a minute. I mean, the Italian national team is wonderful.
That's your heritage and all that. I get it. But speaking of disloyalty, I will use that word.
Go ahead.
MLS All-Star Game going to Chicago, Baxter. Now, great.
That's exciting.
That is a...
we can actually go
got the Chicago Fire, so that's not the disloyal part.
True.
The part that bugs me is that it's going to be played at Soldier Field.
What? Why? That doesn't make sense.
Why not have it at Bridgeview Stadium, or whatever it's called now, Toyota Park or Toyota Stadium? I'm not sure. I always get that mixed up with FC Dallas's park.
I forget. Toyota something.
But nevertheless, the Fire struggled to get people out there anyways, the way it is.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful stadium.
And it's kind of like the league saying to Chicago, yeah, you know what? We did screw up where we had that stadium built.
And think about
let's put it at Soldier Field for the All-Star game.
Think how important the All-Star game is for national exposure, not only for European teams that come over. So say Chelsea comes over as the opponent this year as well. You've got all those Premier League Chelsea fans that really don't care about MLS but live in America. Then all of a sudden, like, oh, Chelsea's coming. Wait, why are they playing? Why are they playing in an American football stadium? Doesn't Chicago have a soccer stadium? Like, I mean, think about the All-Star game will be full if you go to Bridgeview. And I know they probably want to make more money. I'm sure it comes down to a money thing,
and
among other things.
I won't be surprised, Baxter, if we hear in a few days that it is a club like Manchester United coming over.
And
or maybe it is a Barcelona, a Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Which would be fantastic.
I agree. I find it interesting that we haven't seen Michigan's The Big House used as a host stadium for the All-Star game yet, because they had, I know it was Real Madrid and United, and they put on over 110,000 people in that stadium.
Right.
I get that. But still, there's obviously a big soccer population in that area, too, that would go watch a massive game, especially if you get a Real Madrid, a Barcelona, or a bigger team that in.
I mean, here's the thing for me is that if you're going to put it in a neutral city, fine. But if you're going to put it in an MLS city, then play the game at the dang stadium that the team plays at.
I don't know off the top of my head how big Toyota Park is, but
it's about. My guess is it's about around that 21,000.
If you would literally get that and more there, I mean that stadium would be rocking.
Well, look at
and it's a close proximity to the field too. Which I
Right.
know most soccer stadiums are too. But that would be an exciting environment to be in.
Here's the thing that concerns me, Baxter, is that what happens if you only get 20,000 in Soldier Field?
Soldier Field can house, I think, at least 60,000 people.
Because here's the thing. Now, listen, it's a great
There's that
stadium
many
for
Bears
soccer.
fans.
I've seen plenty of games there. It was built with soccer in mind.
Yeah.
But listen, down in San Jose, they said it was a sellout. But I'm telling you, Baxter, when I was out there last year for that All-Star game against Arsenal, it was not a sellout.
You sent me pictures too, and you're like, and there's open spots, and there's open spots. I was like,
so it's
okay.
I don't know. There's got to be. Hopefully, there's something big. Like I said, if you're going to fill Soldier Field, you need to have a team like Real Madrid, a team like Barcelona.
Yeah.
Tottenham's not going to sell out.
Yeah, no.
Manchester United,
No.
I don't know if they would sell out at this point.
I don't think so, honestly, at this point. So, all right, we got to go to a break, Simon, but when we come back, we'll have Orlando Pride head coach Tom Sermanni joining us on the line. So stay tuned. You're listening to Two Up Front, presented by Three Lions Pub. We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back to the Attention Area Media Studios here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's Two Up Front, presented by Three Lions Pub. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
Simon Provan. We've had a great show so far today, haven't we?
I feel like we have.
I
Absolutely.
enjoy this. I'm sad that we've only done this once this week. Usually we're at least on twice a week, but schedules, life, etc., commitments, work, all those things.
All
Get in the
that
way
stuff,
sometimes.
yes.
All the things that are not important when it comes to the soccer world, honestly. But
we make that all up with having two great head coaches from the NWSL on today.
Absolutely, Simon. Do you want to do the pleasure of introducing our next guest, sir?
Sure, I will do that, Baxter. So it's great to have him on the show. I don't know if it completes having all the head coaches from the NWSL on.
I think we're one or two away from bingo.
But it's great to have this man debut on the show, former coach of the U.S. Women's National Team and now head coach of Orlando Pride, Tom Sermanni. Tom, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's great to be on the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, Tom. We're excited to have you on the program, sir. How are things going this offseason? I know it's been a little busy the last couple of weeks here with the draft, of course, taking place, but how are things going for you as you gear up for another exciting NWSL year?
Definitely, and things have been going well for us over the last couple of weeks. The first couple of months of the off-season were a little bit kind of frustrating when we tried to get some things done and we couldn't seem to get anything in place. But we've had a veritable flurry of activity in the last couple of weeks, and I think that's helped us look a lot more solid for this year.
So, Tom, I got to ask. I want to jump right into it. Alex Morgan, you're not going to have her for the first half of the season. So, as a head coach, how do you plan out? Because obviously, I'm assuming when she comes back, she will be starting. Maybe that's not the case, but how do you plan out a season when for the first half of the season you're not going to have one of your star players, and you know she'll be returning in the second half?
No, I mean, you just plan it the same way as you would do it if somebody like Alex or any other player picked up an injury, and you wouldn't have them for the first 2 or 3 months of the season, and just get on with it with the rest of the squad, and and it's the stuff that you need to deal with a coach, every year. I mean, Houston had it last year with Carly Lloyd, who got injured in our second game of the season against us, and was out for virtually all of the season. So you just have to get on with it, and then an opportunity for somebody else, and that's just basically how we would look at it.
Absolutely. With that, have you been in touch with Alex?
Yeah. I touched base with her last week. Touched base with her, obviously, just before she went to France, and not long after she got there. And I touched base with her when she was in the national camp last week. So and she's going well. She's settled in. She's got her own apartment now and things like that. So she seems to have taken to the move very well at this stage, and hopefully that will be a positive thing for her on and off the field.
Last season, Coach, you finished second to last in the NWSL standings, 6-13-1 overall on the season. You had your goal. You had 20 goals for and 30 goals against. So not exactly the most stellar season on paper, but you certainly had a lot of big things happen. Of course, with Alex Morgan doing really well and other players as well stepping up. But what were your thoughts when everything finally settled down and you said, okay, this season was what in your mind? Obviously, a learning experience, I feel like, to an extent. But how did you view it, especially with your struggles of only winning one game on the road as well?
A couple of things. I think it was I would call it a mixed season. The thing that really hit us hard and harder than harder than I generally anticipated was when we lost our players to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Just prior to the players leaving at the end of June, we were actually in the top four. So we were actually started the first half of the season for a new team, I thought, very, very well, and we were competitive in every game, and obviously had a decent winning record. I think what we saw in the second half was the fact that, as a new team, you don't have the opportunity to build up the same depth in your squad and outside of your squad than some of the more established teams have been able to do. So although a couple of other teams lost similar numbers to the Olympics, it didn't impact them, I think, in the same way as it impacted us. And that was just the reality. So if you look at the results in the season, that's what basically happened. So, we're confident that, we can get a good starting team on the field and continue to strengthen the squad as a whole that will be much more competitive this year.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one, too. Of course, one of the bright spots on your team last season was Kristen Edmonds. We've had her on the program before, and then she just added, going to the U.S. Women's National Team camp in the last couple of months as well, too, to her resume, which is exciting. 6 goals, 2 assists from a very young player. What were your thoughts about Kristen as a whole, and what can she bring to the team in 2017?
Well, she had an outstanding season. So, hopefully, again, she'll now be a little bit more, teams will be a bit more wary of her, so life will be a little bit more difficult for her. But hopefully she can bring the same energy and performances that she did last year. The great thing about Kristen Edmonds is she's a fantastic all-round player. She's a player that, apart from centre-back, goalkeeper, we've actually in different times played on nearly every other position in the team, and she's adaptable to do that. So she's the typical modern day player. She possesses all those kind of qualities in the sense that she's flexible positionally, that she has got good pace, she's got good mobility, she's comfortable on the ball, and she brings and really a very, very overall fit player who can play at a high intensity. So she brings all those qualities, and if she can do that again this season, then I think we'll see hopefully the same kind of performances and outcomes from her.
We are talking to head coach of Orlando Pride, Tom Sermanni, here on the shopfutsal.com call-in line. Coach, I have a broader question for you. What's the biggest difference for you from coaching a national team to coaching a club team?
The biggest difference is the planning, in a sense, and the difference between week to week and preparation for tournaments. So in a league job, you're obviously you're working every day, and you're aiming for the game this Saturday. So a game finishes, you're immediately on the next game, and so you're doing that. So it's not shorter planning, but it's shorter term thinking in a lot of senses, because you're really just looking one game ahead. When you've got a national team program, you're looking ahead at tournaments. So if I was still the US or the Australian national team coach now, my mind would be on France in 2019. Well, be on the qualifiers first, but then on France 2019, and you're making judgments on players that you think will be, or alternatively won't be around at that time. So, for instance, if you've got a very senior, experienced player who's kind of reaching at the end of their career, and you think by 2019 they're not going to be there, you're sort of making decisions now to say, look, I can't afford to carry that player on because I need to give her replacement time to get settled in and play international soccer before we go into France 19. So it's that slight difference in planning and thought process when you're selecting and looking ahead at games.
What do you make of the U.S. women's national team right now? Obviously, you served as coach for a while, and then there was everything that happened with the World Cup, and then, of course, with some might say the crash out of the Olympics as well, too. But how would you diagnose the state of the women's national team here in the United States right now?
I think it's a healthy state. I think what Jill's done well is, I attempted to start the process of to a degree change because it had reached that stage in the team. Bringing players like Crystal Dunn, Morgan Bryan, Sam Lewis, etc., into the national team during my time there, and I think Jill has kind of continued that process, and I think she's now, which is great, being given the time and the mandate to continue that change. I didn't quite get given the time or the mandate to do that, but so I think Jill's done a terrific job in actually continuing refreshing that change, and I think the other important thing that's happened is that now the NWSL has had 4 or 5 years to grow. It's given players the opportunity to develop. So when I had the job initially, the league had just started. So what happened is outside the national team pool, you had to make decisions on players when they come out of college, or they just disappeared. Mm-hmm. Now what we've had after 5 years of NWSL, we've now, before you get into 5 years of NWSL, we have players like Lynn Williams, for example, a great example, and Kristen Edmonds, a great example, who wouldn't even be on the national team radar, wouldn't even have existed. But because we've had a professional league established now, it's given players opportunities to actually develop and show that they're good enough to get in the national team. And that's given the national team a much healthier competition base, and I think that bodes well for the future of the team.
All right, completely shifting gears here, Tom. You're from Scotland. The heritage on my father's side is Scotland, and I know you'll appreciate this. My father's...
I knew you had some good points. I knew you had some good there.
I was like, I knew I liked you.
Not much, but some.
Right. You'll appreciate this. My father's name is Dave Provan. So it's not the Dave Provan you played against, of course, the famous footballer from Scotland.
No.
But I do want to find where I'm related to him, because I got to believe we are somehow or another. One of my dreams, though, is to get over to Scotland and travel around there. I got to ask you, what are your suggestions for this American who has Scottish roots? Where should I go when I'm over there?
Where you should go? Well, I mean, the great thing about Scotland is you can go to most of it in a very short period of time. So you have to... I'm from Glasgow, so I'm a bit biased, but Edinburgh's a better tourist city. I can't say that in public, obviously, or I can't go back home to Glasgow. But you've got to have a drive up through the Highlands. I'm more of a West Coast than an East Coast guy. So you drive up and there's the Isle of Skye, there's Mallaig, there's Oban. Then you drive up through Fort William to Ben Nevis, Glencoe, up to Inverness, and then back down through the centre of the country. That's my suggested recommendations, and you'll see, a whole lot of different things. Probably a lot of rain as well, but that's what I would do, and you can do that in a couple of days.
Well, I'm a little disappointed you didn't throw in Provan Hall, because I know that's somewhere in Scotland. But I got to tell you, if there is life after soccer for you, we will give the Scottish Tourism Council a call and get you as their spokesman.
Yeah, I could do that. The trouble with that is it mean me ending up going back there, and I don't think that would go down too well with my wife.
Fair enough.
Got to keep the wife happy. I appreciate it. Well, Tom, we had a blast with you. We appreciate you taking time on the show today, and we hope to do this again with you soon in the coming weeks. All right?
Okay, sounds great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the call.
Thank you.
Absolutely. There goes Tom Sermanni of the Orlando Pride on the shopfutsal.com call-in line. We're going to head to our final break. When we come back, we're going to break down the U.S. men's national team taking on Serbia and a couple other random soccer things to close out the program. It's Two Up Front presented by Three Lions Pub. Back with more right after this. Welcome back to the Attention Era Media Studios. It's Two Up Front, presented by Three Lions Pub. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
Good little chat there at the end of the segment there. You're going back to the Scottish roots. Are you sure your father wasn't the famous footballer Tom Sermanni played against?
Yeah, I'm positive, but it really is interesting because up until my oldest brother was born, there was a tradition in the Provan family, in our Provan family, to name the firstborn Dave.
Really?
Yeah, so...
would you have named if you had a son, would you have named him Dave, out of curiosity?
No, because my father and mother broke that tradition by naming my oldest brother Steve.
Steve. Come on. Kind of a Scottish name is Steve.
And I know there's some reasons for it, and obviously I won't get into it on air. But
trying to get you in trouble.
But no, I'm very proud of my Scottish roots, and boy, it'd be nice to see Scotland back in the World Cup at some point here.
That'd be fun.
But I really do. Sarah and I are actually talking about, we both turned 40 this year, and we're talking about doing the Vegas thing, or do we try to save up money actually
go to
Scotland?
Why
be
not?
Great to go out there.
That would be a fantastic.
There really is a Provan Hall in Glasgow, and it was built in I believe the 15th century or 16th century. So it is one of my dreams, man. I want to get over there and check it all out.
I don't blame you. I've been to England, Ireland, and Wales before, and that was an unreal experience too. I want to go to Italy. That's my heritage, obviously, but never been to Italy yet. My wife wants to go though, so we're hoping to get there at some point. We'll leave the baby for a weekend and go. I don't know, or maybe not. We'll go when he's
just
older.
Put the food out.
Yeah, you're fine. You can breastfeed yourself. Anyway, all right, Simon. The U.S. Takes on Serbia on Sunday at Qualcomm Stadium. In a football stadium on ESPN2 on Unimas and UDN.
And I should have followed my instincts. It is in San Diego. That's what I said the first time.
San Diego. The former home to the San Diego Chargers before they become the Los Angeles Chargers. or whatever they become.
Man, LA Dodgers and LA Chargers. That's just, those names are too close to each other.
Right?
Gotta figure
Dodgers
it out.
and Chargers and Anyway, so what are we thinking out of this game, Simon? I mean, we know that it's a MLS full squad of U.S. men's national team players. Bruce Arena, it's his first time back on the big stage as well, too. But what are you looking for in this game?
Well, I'm looking to see how these MLS players do, but also with Serbia, they're in the Euros, they're doing well, or European qualifying. They're doing well, and word is they're bringing only about 8 of their top guns with them. So this is the similar approach to them. Is it looks like what they want to do is bleed a lot of their young guys, get them some playing time. In case some of these starters go down. These players have experience then at the international level. So I had predicted a draw before. I'm going to go with that. I am excited to see Benny Feilhaber back in the middle, see if he gets a good load of minutes. Interested to see who was the other player that defensively. Let me go back and look at the roster. But I am excited to see all these MLS players in there. Some of these guys who thought they had no shot anymore whatsoever at the U.S. national team.
Like, I'm done. I'm washed up.
Feilhaber being one of those. So, but a number of these guys have been called back. Oh, Susie. I'm interested to see how Graham Susie does in the back there. So those are the two big things I'm looking for, Baxter.
Sure, I would agree with you on that one. I'm curious to see... I really want to see Kekuta Mane play. I really do. I'm excited to see him on this team. I think he
was sent back home.
What?
Yeah, he was sent back to Vancouver. It doesn't look like they got clearance from FIFA
paperwork?
Just in time for
Son
this.
of a gun.
Yep. So he won't be there. He's training with Vancouver out in Wales right now.
I promise I'd pay attention to things going on. I must have missed that, honestly. Sad. Well, aside from that, looking at the U.S. men's national team roster, I'd like Juan Agudelo to actually do something. That'd be fantastic. Funny fact now, Juan Agudelo, I think, is got a lot of people's eyes on him, honestly. Brian Dunseth talked about this when he was on the show last week. He's like, you're pulling for a guy like Juan Agudelo. You want him to do well. He's got everything that can really be that next generation of Josie Altidore, but will he actually do it? That's the real question.
Yeah, we've just had so many players with potential that seem to fizzle out at the international level. It'd be nice to see another player actually come through, and Juan Agudelo definitely has the ability to do that. He's great on the ball. He's very skillful, but it's just odd how he disappears from the picture every once in a while.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you on that one. Fun fact, just from me to you. Wait, did this change now? Maybe
Probably did. I'm sure.
I don't know. I'm trying to find you a flight to Scotland. Trying to see here where this... I thought I had it going out of Chicago. Maybe it changed. ORD is not Chicago, right? Or is that...
That's Orlando.
Orlando. Why? No wonder the price dropped. I was like, what the heck? I don't know why it switched to Orlando.
So you're having me drive from Milwaukee
Go to Orlando. It's only $500 if you fly from Orlando. No, I found one out of Chicago for like $780, but that's if you wanted to leave tomorrow, basically. Fun fact.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to just jump on a plane and go to Scotland, there you go.
I think my employer might be a little upset with
me. My heritage calls me.
I am interested, Baxter, though, to see who also is in goal. I got to believe David Bingham's going to get the start in one game. Luis Robles perhaps gets the start in the other.
Yeah.
I think Brian Rowe is there, again, just as a fill-in for Stephen Fry. Nick Raimondo, we know what he can do at the international level.
Yeah.
And I'm actually... I think the only reason he may have been called is for him to be that leader of this MLS group of goalkeepers, but we know what he can do at the international level. So that was one of those mind-boggling picks for me. Same thing with Chris Wondolowski. Why is he still getting called up?
I agree. No, I completely agree with you on that one. Looking at this roster, too, I mean, really, you can run down the list. It's like, I want to see what Taylor Kemp can do. I want to see what Chad Marshall can do, Keegan Rosenberry. I'd like to know what Sebastian Legit, Dax McCarty, Darlington Nagbe, Chris Pontius, Will Trapp, all those guys. Really, I want them all to try to get minutes at some point if we can, so we can be like, okay, we know kind of at least what we're dealing with.
Well, and we should see some cohesion with these guys. They've been in camp now for a couple of weeks with Bruce Arenas, so I got to imagine by this point Bruce does know who he's starting. Maybe he's not going to tell everybody, but he does know who he's starting. And I think we will see more of that old-school counterattacking play from the U.S. I'd be surprised to see him come out and go all guns a-blazing. But again, this is a younger Serbian national team as well. This is officially their first meeting. Of course, FIFA looks at Serbia as a continuation of the Yugoslavian national team.
Sure, yeah.
Who the U.S. has played. I know at least one World Cup, maybe two of them. But I think World Cup in 54. No, it can't be 54. The last World Cup they played in was 50. So I think one of those early ones, they lost 9-1 or something like that to Yugoslavia. But then they lost again in the 1998 World Cup to Yugoslavia. Anyways, just throwing a little history out there.
Please, I appreciate
It'll be
it.
interesting to see how a young Serbian team plays against, a young U.S. national team.
All right, we can kind of incorporate this, I guess, into this segment here. I'm going to use my I Believe on the game as a prediction. I don't know if you want to do yours as well, too, or if you have something else. But it's our I Believe segment where we talk about, or we state something we believe will take place in the soccer world. I will use my I Believe to say I believe the United States wins this game 2-1. In my opinion.
Well, I already mentioned earlier that I still think that it's going to be a draw.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with a different I believe,
Please.
just a little bit more of a news topic. I believe that Giles Barnes will no longer be with the Vancouver Whitecaps. Rumors are he's heading over to Blackburn, reuniting with Owen Coyle, who loved him down in Houston. Barnes... he was on the books with Vancouver for $750,000 apparently, and I would say he's the type of player that if you can get off your books, get him off your books.
Yeah,
very skillful player, but just doesn't seem to have the whole package.
Transfer, didn't he? I think last year from Houston to Vancouver.
I believe you're
that's
correct.
What it was, like a mid-season.
swap.
And
I'm getting that figure, by the way, just off of some talking boards. So it could be, there's probably listeners out there going, "What? He's not making that much money.
$50,000,
right?
No.
But even if he's making $300,000, I don't think he's worth the money. He had that great run-up with Jamaica in the Gold Cup.
Yeah,
but then he just
great.
seemed to fizzle out after that. So if he can get on a championship team over in England, more power to him.
No kidding, absolutely. All right, well, we've had a fantastic show. Special thanks to both of our guests joining us on the shopfutsal.com line, Boston Breakers head coach Matt Beard and Orlando Pride head coach Tom Sermanni. It was great to hear from both of them and get insights into their upcoming NWSL seasons. Reminder, go check out our website, the number 2upfrontsoccer.com to find past episodes. You can also go and find the show on demand by going to Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, the Sports Podcasting Network, and many other places as well.
Of course, you can find us on Facebook, 2 Up Front. You can find us on Twitter, 2 Up Front Soccer. Use that number 2. He's at Baxter Colburn. I'm at Simon Provan.
Simon Provan, any fun plans for the weekend, sir?
Fun plans for the weekend. Going ice skating tonight with my youngest daughter for a Girl Scout outing. Coaching all day again tomorrow with the club that I coach with, doing some futsal coaching. I coached 11 futsal games last Saturday, Baxter. 11 hours of coaching. That was crazy.
Good
fun
on you
stuff,
for that.
Though.
Oh, I bet. I'm sure it's fun to... And you've been very complimentary of futsal in the past as well, too.
So that's pretty much my weekend is all full of soccer right now.
Sounds good. Well, we will give you guys an update on our schedule for next week, so stay tuned to our social media pages as well. And you can always drop us an email as well, 2upfrontsoccer@gmail.com. For Simon Provan, I'm Baxter Colburn. With our manager being the one above, we are 2 Up Front.